was listening more than like, I listened more than I'm like.
No, but no, that was helpful. All right,
Whenever you're ready, sir.
let me know, are we ready to go? All righty, why don't we call this meeting to order? Do you want to do a roll call?
Sure. Kathy Cavalier. Here. Tiffany DeMayo here. Chris Wilson.
Here.
Bill Baker.
Here.
And Donna McCall. Here. Craig Falco.
Here.
Ooh, all here. And moment of silence and pledge of allegiance.
You would start that, that would be great.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice for all.
I blanked how it started, sorry.
I blank in the middle. I blank in the middle.
Forgive.
I would like to make a motion to approve today's agenda.
A second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Very good. We
I did have some.
do not have a public here today, so we will move past public comments as we don't have any. I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes from October 14th.
I'll motion to approve.
I'll second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Oh, I didn't realize we didn't have you guys' agendas. Very good. All right, new business, discussion and possible action of a 2026 budget and class 2 resource incentives. It seemed like there's two different things there.
Yeah,
That
is two different
Different
things.
things. But
But kind of, but so the way it was put is, we have the budget for 2026 and we want to know if there are any funds in the budget for the class 2 plaques. So I think that maybe is why. It's
oh,
together.
it's specific to the plaques.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, because incentives is more an amendment to our ordinance.
Yeah, no, I think it was
which is a
the plaques
totally different
specifically
topic,
that we
but yeah.
talked about.
We
Yeah.
were gonna discuss with Steve how the budgeting was changing from the past since he put it through for us last year.
Right.
So maybe I reach out to Claudia and have her ask Steve if there is any sort of information that is available on it. And then either I can work on it or form a committee.
Mhm.
Or
I'll also.
I think he's doing the budget now, so if he had an amount that we asked for, because he read it off the other night. And
Which is
he's,
fine and all, except like, just like last year, if no one's told us what we're budgeting or how we're budgeting, then he
we
can,
just asked for an
he can do it
amount.
for us again if he wants. But I'll, what?
What does it cost?
About 300 apiece.
I mean, Kathy, you're meeting with people face to face. Any of them, they would portion of it?
I
They
would think
get
if
a
I
cut?
asked the ones who want it, it's not like everybody, some people like just the wooden piece that they put on their house.
They
even
participate in the
something-
cost?
Have we even, do we even send them some certificate of something?
You have information on the plaques?
I do, but it's not the originals that we bought years ago.
Do you
These
wanna like
different.
just forward that to the?
Yeah,
this
I'll
list?
forward, you can look at them. There's all different ways. We looked at the one at the tavern to see how it was made. Because there's different metals, there's different, there's a covering over, I think it's not a metal, that's a cheaper version, and then there's the cast.
Yeah, if you forwarded that
Cast
to us, then
iron.
we would all like. be
But
able to-
but the other second question is do we give a certificate at this point
No,
of something with a seal or the formal?
we have not discussed doing that.
That's another.
We have a
incentive.
letter of, hey, now that you're a class 2, here are your responsibilities, but
So
not packaged as like a,
let's just draft something for
Certificate.
the next, a certificate, we can start with that.
Yep.
To all the newest,
When that's
There's
sent
20, I
out,
think.
maybe there could be an offering, should you like a plaque?
yes,
Here is
that could be a second sheet.
price point
Mhm.
for it and have pay for the plaques that they.
Right, or they can get, yeah, they didn't pay initially, so that's why
Okay,
they were given by
Well, we can create a new-
businesses, different businesses would sponsor.
we can create.
It
a
was,
new
it was done by the
onboarding-
Rotary.
We can create a new onboarding packet that's like the
Which we
certificate
could
and
reach
then
out
the.
to the, yeah, business association too, because some of them might want to do that.
All right, let's move on to 7.2 then. Discussion of historic commission participating in species selection and tree planting at this historic square tavern.
Okay,
Kathy-
so
Kathy-
yeah, I attended the Shade Tree Commission meeting because on the agenda was the arborist report for the rear of the Square Tavern and the parking lot, actually.
Mhm.
And so I had asked that they have a liaison from the commission because it's a historic, especially the direct property in the back, not necessarily the parking lot isn't. To work with them, and the arborist was in agreement with that. And they voted to do that. Along with that, it brought up the question of being notified prior or somehow being in the loop of different projects or anything that's going to affect a historic property that falls within the guidelines of the ordinance. So basically, not, there's many things that don't, but alterations, demolitions, additions. So if you had an example, we have 5 that are in our ordinance in the class 1.
Mhm.
So if they want to do an alteration or something to that property or an addition, give an example, say the Square Tavern, they want to create bathrooms outside the tavern, not somewhere further away. So they would have to then just do the same procedure as the class 2.
Is it, are you saying the class 1s are being treated differently?
I'm not sure. I just
They
know
don't know
that,
what to do about it. They weren't aware that they needed to involve us.
I'm
Or-
not sure. I don't
I mean, I
know
think-
if they know that or not. I just know that it's, unless you see the agenda minutes, you don't know that certain things are on
Mhm.
agendas.
Mm.
So do they follow or not? If it's historic property and the
Well-
property is considered historic at that.
Yep.
Because I also brought up a heritage tree. And our shade tree ordinance
And
allows for a heritage tree to be named. And the one the arborist referred to repeatedly as a historic was the London plane tree next to the tavern.
Mhm.
So, that is it already in the ordinance to do that.
I think the question would be, what's in our ordinance and I just lost my train of thought.
How do we notify other commissions
Well-
or?
No,
Or
it's
how do
it's
they
already
know?
in our ordinance is
Right,
what you're
right.
saying.
Does our ordinance actually cover anything other than the specific building or specific historic?
It's
Correct
landscapes
features.
as well. And Steve mentioned that when the property on Westchester Pike, the contestable property.
Because I
So
would
it
think
was
for most
also
properties,
the
it's not.
property behind it.
I would think for most properties, what they do outside, we don't really have much say on.
No, not always. You're right. A nationally registered and a class 1 might be a different item than a class 2. So I think that the discussion would be, is that something just to be included on? It's not like obviously, we just are an advisory and you just make recommendations. But
what-
to be out of the loop with historic buildings is not
My understanding is
a good idea.
if it's a historic property that we have brought into the historic zoning,
Mhm.
although I think we're loosely being advised for ones that are on the register but not in
Mhm.
our agenda. Anything that requires a permit should require us to be notified.
Correct.
Unless, of course, it's a permit for an interior work that doesn't affect the outside,
Right.
but I would think if you're doing major landscaping, renovations, I believe our
Our ordinance does
Ordinance.
cover that, yeah.
would have us be notified. Whether that actually happens in every case, there's
No.
a human element there.
Right.
It may or may not.
But so just take that over to class one. Class one is a little different. You have St. David's. You have
Yeah,
Dunwoody
but I think,
that might,
I think anything that protects class two by default also covers class one, even though they're different classes, class one just has more.
right. So the point is, and there were two things going on there then.
I mean, I
So
think
how do you get notified, and does the township feel obligated to notify? Or follow the same procedure that a homeowner would with regard to a permit? It's just a matter of even bringing the idea in the plan. An example would be those bathrooms that are outside. So the design, whatever. That is something that totally fits into the purview of just saying, you just discuss, what is it? So that's also transparent. It's also,
Well, maybe this is an education thing, because I would honestly be shocked if we got notified for things that are happening outside the perimeter of the actual building, because most of our historic resources won't cover that. The class ones, yes, I can see that.
that's what the
might
discussion is,
cover.
class one.
But the very spot nature of it, I would be surprised if that's picked up every time. So you're right, we probably won't get notified on.
So how do we? So what do we do so that we do get notified? And Steve's not here to answer that, so I know. So, that is part of the issue. So that is written down that we need to be notified, and we can put that on, for further discussion on the, class one, which they're national, on the National Register of Historic Places. So they're even more, specific in some ways, but, just more delicate and more that you would, public related. The public knows, the public sees, it's much more of a different kind of, a building. The
Why don't
tree
we-
ordinance is a different thing as well, because that tree is on that property.
I would expect the Shade Tree Commission would get notified for a heritage tree before we would. If
No,
we
no,
would.
no, they nominate them. I read their ordinance inside and out. They nominate the heritage tree, which I sent them information, and the arborist concurred, and it meets all the criteria.
Yes.
The
But
height,
I don't know that falls into our ordinance.
no, it doesn't. It
So
falls
I-
under theirs, but we are now working with them on this particular piece of that property, whatever decisions they're making. So in doing that, they have within their ordinance, they have the ability to name it a heritage tree. It does not have to be voted on.
Yep, but I don't see how that fits into our ordinance.
One sec.
Go for it.
So early on in our commission, we were asked to give opinions on the Ellis buildings when like the hair salon and the
Salon.
florist wanted to go in, and what were our thoughts on it? That had nothing to do with our commission. They weren't on a class registry or anything, but in the
But they were
same,
but
they're part of a historic site. So they wanted our opinion.
I believe those buildings we were notified on those buildings because they potentially would be dragged into our
And
ordinance.
a permit was,
And a permit was.
required for the
Right.
signs.
so in the same way that the bathrooms are gonna require a permit to put them on that property.
I don't know, how does that work with the township?
So,
Do township get permits?
so the township does get permits, and understand that the discussion about the bathrooms is in a very, very preliminary
I
No,
stage
no, no, it's
It's
just
an
an
of it-
example.
of
It's just-
addressing a plumbing problem when
It's
we
an-
inherited the
Yeah, it's
building.
an example.
We're
Yeah,
giving
yeah, yeah.
examples so that we
Right.
know going forward what could potentially come up. So, because we already have instances
Mhm.
where it's not been included. So that's why,
But
there might be other things that
In
come up.
discussions
And other,
with Steve, yeah,
Dunwoody and St.
in
David's.
discussion with Steve, he said anytime something comes up that has to do even loosely with an historic property, but comes across the township because it's a permit, and they feel like it should come to us, then they've been putting those on the agenda. We haven't had one in a long time, but in the case of the bathrooms, I don't think that it's something that we need to be concerned or address because they have a policy.
I see how our ordinance has the potential to give us some input in that.
Mhm.
I don't see how it's currently set up that it does.
No, no one's saying that it does. We're just saying that we don't have to not be involved because it's not addressed.
No,
in
no,
the
we can
ordinance.
if somebody wants to bring something to us optionally, I don't see a reason for us not to discuss that. However, if PennDOT wanted to do some stream remediation around the covered bridge, unless they were actually touching the covered bridge, I don't see that they would be under any obligation to notify us.
That's different, yes.
So what are you making an argument for? That we shouldn't have
Well, I'm
anything to
just,
do
I'm
with
trying
it
to figure out where
or?
Kathy's going.
No, she's just saying that having us as a part of it
Well,
because it's historic property.
Yes, and
Just
so
so
that
that-
was an instance where it could have been very easily for the Shade Tree Commission or somebody who did the agenda to notify or to say, you know, the Historic Commission, because all the trees to be recommended to be removed are on the property right behind the tavern on the field.
Right.
So
So-
that it,
So
what?
that falls
Can
under
we-
shade tree, but not us.
Can you?
No, it's historic, it's
So you guys,
historic
are
property.
having this historic, high-level discussion. Mine is more mundane. At the tavern, we kind of looked at the trees, okay, other than the one historic tree that's right next to 252, but the other ones. Why, arborist says it, that's great. Why do they want to take those trees down? They look like nice trees sitting there, been there for years. Why are they going down?
Sure. So back when the township took the property on, as soon as the spring hit, because it officially took place in January. As soon as spring hit, the township had the township arborist go out and do an evaluation of all the trees that were on the property because they were now our responsibility. So we wanted to know what it was we had. Key was, of course, the London plane tree in the front. We wanted to make sure that we were going to be able to take the best care of it that we could. There were 27 trees that were on that parcel of property. Of those, 14 of them, the arborist gave a recommendation to us and to the Shade Tree Commission about caring for and pruning and those kind of things. There were 13 that were identified as having defects or being in decline, or some were dead, 3 were invasive species, some had major cracks in them or something. So they were recommended not only to be taken down, but to be replaced. So it wasn't just a question of clearing the space, but it was a question of what is appropriate to go into its place. We decided that we were going to bring it first to Shade Tree because we were initially talking about planting new trees there. The removal of the trees, again, the arborist essentially identified that they needed to come down. There was a safety issue. 2 of them have come down just in storms, and fortunately, nobody was there when they came down. Some of the other ones, there's health issues with. There's one ash tree up that's deceased already. So it's not just a question of haphazardly clearing 13 of the 27 trees. It's these trees were identified as a problem that they can't be remedied. We need to replace them.
So the only specific area, so the Shade Tree Commission then hears anytime there's trees to come down? Is that why he presented to them?
No, the reason it was presented to them was we were asking for their input on replacement trees.
Okay,
And that was a first step. I mean,
yeah,
when we originally were going to do it, Kathy, we had shared with you, we were going to be doing this survey.
right.
We certainly identified the London plane as the one that we're giving special attention to. With regard to the rest of them, the first step was to start with the Shade Tree Commission because the arborist had given specific recommendations on the trees that would be wise choices to put in place of the ones coming down. We started with Shade Tree, you then go from there. Our intention was probably more to work with the Historical Society than going with the Historical Commission on that. But of course, the more the merrier when it comes to looking at planting trees.
What's your timeline for we're getting into winter. Would you do it during the winter, spring, fall, when?
Sure. So we currently are getting quotes now to do the fertilization and the care of the trees that he recommended that work be done to. So that's coming in. We're building that into the 2026 budget so that we can do that as soon as the arborist would say this is the right time to do that kind of work. The removal of the trees, two things I'll say. One, the winter is probably the best time to be doing that kind of work. The ground's hard. You can get equipment in and do no damage to the property as much as possible. The arborist had identified kind of a 5-year plan to gradually be doing the removals and those kind of things based on the condition of the tree. Is it safe to let it sit for 2 years, 3 years, et cetera? We have not gone further yet with the Shade Tree Commission, or more so, we were going to be talking to the Historical Society about this as to whether we think it's wisest to do all the removals and all the replanting at one time so that we have the property in as best shape as possible for the 250th, or whether we want to do them gradually and you lose a few a year and replace a few a year. It might be nice to do a big tree planting as part of the 250th and really have all those locations mapped out and ready to go. We may wind up doing it more on the 5-year scale. So I don't have a solid answer on that, but those are the two possibilities we're looking at.
Thank you.
Okay, so that
All right, I just.
is
I-
part of
I-
it.
I
So the
perhaps
plan that
I
they,
perhaps
yes.
wasn't understanding what you were asking, because in this case, while I think it's fine for us to help, I don't see how we would necessarily be logical to bring in and just,
No, I think what I was saying was what George just addressed, and it was Steve's recommendation to be the commission. I thought the society would have been fine too. Had somebody known ahead of time and not just happened upon the agenda to know that they, to earmark that wanted to be just included, I think it would have been a lot better to know upfront. Oh, we're going to do this. We're going to do it because I have his report and it's some are 2, some are 3, some are 4. And then you talk with somebody about the history and what are the best trees. And I just wanted to have the conversation, or some of us, with the arborist, which he agreed to do. So yeah, that John is his name. Yeah.
I mean, we could.
And that
certainly
was
look
the
into-
thing. If you start it out that way,
We
then
could-
it doesn't get to where,
we-
uh-oh,
we
what's
could cer- We
happening?
could certainly look into how to get automatic notifications for anything pertaining to any of the properties on or any of the class 1s.
Yes, but that brings up.
Even if we don't by our,
Well, it also brings up,
Ordinance.
and I know that, the historic architect and other people went through the tavern, but I just happened upon, and I think Bill happened upon, the, HVAC guys, the gentlemen, the 2 gentlemen that were, doing the work. I just walked in and they happened to be in there.
I
So,
happened to go in that same day at a different time, and I was talking to them.
and they wanted to know, they did, I wasn't, they wanted to know, like, what would this look like? Would you want this there? Would you want that there? They wanted to talk to people that had some of that historic background, and it could be even other people, and I would know who they were or get them for them, just so they could say, well, do you want it left like this? Do you want us to do this? I mean, because they had some ideas of putting things on walls that were not going to be appropriate, and they knew it. And then they said, okay, but we can do this. And again, we happened upon them. And he was very anxious to talk. So he would have gladly met or talked with somebody there.
Sure.
we
So,
know.
and I'm glad that you happened to be there at the same time
I
that
see
they
the door
were.
open.
But,
It's a canoe.
understand the tavern is a great example. There's a lot of issues with the tavern that we are trying to address now that we're the caretakers of it. Dealing with the heating and cooling system is a primary concern. We had a lot of problems last winter. We're going into this winter. There's going to be stages where we go in and start getting our hands around what is the condition? And again, I'll use the heating and cooling system as an example. You know, they were sent in there with our staff, but then our staff went out and then came back again later. For the purposes of wrapping their minds around, and that's just one vendor, but wrapping their minds around what we had, what could be done with the existing infrastructure, what was possible for something in the future. It wasn't the right time to be bringing, because whatever they propose is not necessarily what's going to be done. There's a time that we want to start then bringing in the people who have the historic expertise to talk about it. First, I needed to get the infrastructure standpoint of it. And they were very interested in the history of it, but what they got to me was what I needed, but it is not the final version.
Right.
Because there's a lot more hurdles to go through. I wanted them to look at it really kind of black and white and say, like, in order to heat and cool this building,
Right.
what you've got is done. It can't be salvaged. What do we need to put it in? And then we start looking at, okay, what does that mean with you know, historic aspects of it?
Right. And that is exactly what we talked about, because having been in that building for more than 10 years, I'm pretty privy to how everything shows up and how it looks and open to all that. So I think that just knowing the process and maybe being kept, I don't even have to, hey, they're going to be there, if you want to talk to them. Hey, they're going to, or something like that. I'm always there anyway. It doesn't have to be wrapped around when we can or anything like that. And there is heat coming out.
And by the way, we've actually had other vendors over there looking at it as well.
Somebody put the heat on. The downstairs is the heaters
It
on.
probably was Public Works.
Yeah,
Well,
so that's, yeah, they got it. And that's what the thing was. Can you retrofit it? Can you work with what's there? And I think, we're all good with that.
Yeah, I mean, today,
It
it
was
was set
warm.
for 60, it was running 60, and you're comfortable the pipes won't freeze, right, during the winter.
That's,
That's
yeah.
my biggest.
We used to
That's the
run
key.
Space
Yeah.
heaters that blew all the fuses. That's what we did every winter for the last 3 years.
Mm.
Yeah, it was torturous. So yeah, totally understandable. It's just that sometimes we're
and
not
that's-
sure how information would get relayed. And even if you said, oh, we're going to be doing this down the road, just.
Well, and there are times, and again, Steve's the township manager, so I don't want to speak out of turn. I'm answering from Public Works perspective, but there's a time that you want to bring in the folks with expertise on different aspects of a project. And there's a time when you just want to get your baseline first, and then you build from there.
Yep.
With the restroom facility problem there, with the heating and cooling problem there, it's at a very early stage before we would be looking to say, like, okay, how does that then fit in with the grander plan in place?
But okay, and I agree with you totally on that. But because we still open it, it's always nice, even Steve could just send an email, send a thing. This is what's going on. Oh, guess what? There's heat. We had to discover it. Okay, now we can open through the winter. And that was a huge thing. We didn't even know. And because the bathrooms we've dealt with, and that's not any problem.
Right.
People deal with it. But we
I-
don't seem to get it's communication. I'm
I-
not sure. Could that be it?
Sure, I think, whatever method of communication, would be helpful. I think that's great. I wouldn't guarantee that the heat is going to stay on the entire winter though, because the system,
Might
I mean,
not.
the reality of the system is failing. They were able to get it up and running again, but it's not.
Oh, no, hey. We just go with it until it stops.
So if,
And that's the thing, we're so used to dealing with, nobody wants a quick fix. Nobody's looking for that and spending money even. I think that's part of the whole thing. We just want to be included in any, just, hey, this is what's going on. Hey, there is some heat. Okay, we can run it. And yeah, it may not stay on and that's fine if it doesn't. And as I said, we've done that before. And we just close and I don't get people in there.
but if we go in there sometime and the heat is not running, it's 1-800 George.
That's what most people do.
All right.
Oh, for the pipes and stuff, yeah.
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't know
worried
what
about
to
the
do
pipe.
about
I've got a
that.
place at the shore, so I worry about pipe freezing all the time, going through the winter. So I worry about it here too.
Fortunately, our winters don't get as cold,
I don't know.
as long as you're checking on it every day.
Well, when you're not there every day.
I know. All right,
So, in keeping with that same thing, because that's the township and that's the township, these are township owned properties.
Mhm.
You move over, there's Dunwoody and there's the Octagonal School. So they technically should follow the same procedure, should they need to get a permit. To do something, basically, you're just saying, this is what we're gonna do. Maybe they want to put a sign up, because of course they lost the one that was painted by the historic guy, but they need some kind of signage for the Octagonal School. Nobody knows where it is. They don't know where it's back there. So that's an example of something right in front. So I'm just saying, these are things that could happen, but they're owned by, St. David's Church owns that. And are they all supposed to follow along and just,
So should we put that
Present.
question on the next agenda to pose to Steve? Okay.
that was it for that?
yeah, I mean, if we want to talk about how to come up with a better notification system, because I think right now, unless there's a permit pulled, we're not going to hear about anything unless we stumble upon it.
Right.
Are
Township
there,
doesn't need
are there
permits.
other things we wish to discuss before we
I don't know if you can, it's not
No,
on
it's not
here.
on here.
don't have anything on old business for today?
No.
Oh, you had a lot on the other one.
We still don't
I
have a
did.
public.
It's all here. The
I
old
know.
business,
I know.
Are there things we want to put on
Um,
the next agenda?
go back to old business.
Well, it was the,
Because you have a
okay.
lot on here. Byway, that was old business from last time, the byways program.
yeah, that was the only other thing.
So I came up with an idea for that,
Which one?
scenic byways, historic and scenic
Yep,
byways.
Yep.
Yes, because the idea is, doesn't require voting, it doesn't require anything. It's signage totally. You designate it. So we are categorizing currently all the historic properties. I can actually do them in my head, but Newtown Street Road actually has 17, and these are on the road. Goshen has approximately 11 that are visible from the road. Gradyville, I think, has 7. Bishop Hollow has, I forget how many they have visible. So basically, what the visual aspect and the scenic aspect of the road is due in large part to the historic buildings that are on it and the properties and the landscapes that go with them. So when people are driving on these beautiful roads and they're seeing these things, that is the added reason that they are, Goshen particularly, in that long stretch from the bridge to Delco Christian. So that is the idea now. I think about it and formulate it to get it. So it's not anything that has to be voted. It's just that the town can just do a proclamation that these are scenic and historic byways. But it can be called anything that it's not a zoning, it's not a voting change. It's not, you're not telling people what they can and can't do. But it's a visual sign that designates, oh, this is a scenic, because everybody says, oh, Goshen's gorgeous, they drive that way to come down. So we're going to document all the historic buildings that are on these, and the majority, as I pointed out, are up at the road, which is pretty interesting
Okay,
to do. And then move forward with the idea of just the smaller, maybe at the tavern, there's a sign that says
With
about
the-
Goshen.
Would the Historical Society approach the township with that, or would we, as a commission, approach them about that, since it wouldn't require a vote from us?
I think it requires something. I don't know what it's a vote. And I think that it probably, to call it a name and make a sign, it might require just the vote to do that, to have the name. It's not an ordinance change, it's nothing like that.
By the Board of Commissioners?
I'm not sure. We'll see. I'll ask.
Board of Supervisors, sorry.
Yeah, it might be. I'm not sure because it's not changing a zoning or anything. So I'm not sure how you do that.
We'll just put on here.
It might be proclamation. They do some kind of a thing where they just make a proclamation of some
I'm
sort?
not familiar with proclamations. but if
Me
you
either, but I
figure
know
out
they have
what we'll do-
signage of some of the parks and they're putting in some, I think, right? Some of the parks are?
And just as a note, not that this discourages us at all, but if it's a state road or a PennDOT road, we do need PennDOT's permission to put a sign up.
On a property?
On
even?
the-
On a private
Well,
property?
if it's within the right of way of the road,
Road.
then PennDOT does have to authorize the sign going up. Not that that's an impossible process at
Okay.
all, just that, the township would not be allowed to go put a sign up on Goshen
No.
Road without permission.
Right.
Under cover of night.
No, it would be a nice little sign. As I said, I always point out the one, and I know I've seen it up at Grubbs Mill. They put one up, and I just never can find it, but I go up, well, it was closed forever, Grubbs Mill Road, but if you go down there, they do have some little sign saying that it's a
We want to
scenic.
revisit
spot.
this next month.
Put that on.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, it's on there.
Going on.
Are there other things we want to put on next month's agenda? So that we don't wind up with a 2-item agenda again,
Well, or 3.
3-item agenda.
Are we putting
Um,
that other one on the agenda?
Which one?
The one that was removed?
That is, you already have it on there.
Okay.
It was all about, do they have to follow the same? So that happened to come up under that other
Okay.
one.
Okay.
And properties,
Do we have any?
along with doing it, well, yeah, but I have to go over to their, I got tentatively, yes, but since I have to get them to sign it, it's, I have to go back to their home, so yes, we will have some for the next.
If-
I'm gonna drop them
if you
off
have a-
meanwhile.
If you have if you have an idea of which ones are likely, like I would get I would get a list to Claudia like the next couple days.
Okay, so
And then if we need to pull some off, we can pull them off later on.
yes. Question though, in the beginning, and you were here in the beginning,
Mhm.
you were here. We voted that the Delaware County resource inventory that was done,
Mhm.
that we voted to approve all the properties in there.
Correct.
So why do they have to, they can send, if I bring them in, they could just send it to the homeowner.
It makes the township happy.
No, but we don't have to bring them up again.
No, like,
We can send the
We don't
notice, they
have-
can do their thing that they have to
They need
do.
their notification time. We don't have to we don't have to say we're gonna do these properties at this meeting.
That's
we'll
what
do it
I
next meeting.
mean, yeah,
Yes,
right,
but we do need to get them to them with
Right.
sufficient time to.
but that's what I'm
Put the
talking about.
notifications in.
Because it had been, I was
Yeah.
bringing it up and it seemed redundant.
yeah, no, and that was if we were going to be submitting the application too, like, we had approved it to
Right.
say we would submit all the application for any of those.
Yeah,
But now we want the homeowners to submit it, so then it becomes a moot point for us.
right, except that they aren't really, as I
Except
pointed
for-
out at the meeting, they are
Except
not
for
really doing it. It's
you should.
initiated by the commission. All of these are initiated. None
Yeah.
have been initiated
We-
by the owner.
We are in a short cycle. So if we want them to have time to notify them, they need to know,
That's okay, whatever.
Like
Yeah, I'll just
immediately.
get them.
because we're less than 4 weeks out right now from the next meeting. Unless I can't math, but I think I can.
Oh, they're not gonna make it
Yeah,
for
because it's
that.
Wednesday.
Don't worry about
Yeah.
that. And it's holidays and stuff.
Yeah.
It's no biggie.
Yeah, if we want to cancel December and just like.
Doing them in groups of 7 is helpful, so that's why I do that.
Okay,
I'm gonna try to get,
Did you just say
it's a lump sum.
skip December, just go to January or?
No,
still
well,
have
skip
to-
December and have a Halloween, have a holiday party, Halloween party,
Okay.
holiday party for the.
I had to cancel my Halloween party, so a holiday party would be great.
Okay. So that, I think that'll do, unless we think of other things.
Okay. Is there anything else we want to put on next month's agenda, assuming we're meeting in
So there is a next month. then.
29 days?
I mean,
Okay,
No.
we're good.
I think we already, I think we don't have any whole business. We don't have a public, so
That's it.
the next step would be the motion for adjournment, unless anybody else wants to discuss anything.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll
Second.
second your motion to adjourn.
Mm.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?